everybody. Us Cobalt Wins League enjoyers have had an exciting two first weeks, and so we wanted to make a series about this. In this series, we will be revisiting the most epic, funny, bad, and tilting plays of the week. So we decided to make a video series about it instead of highlight videos. In this week's episode, we will both be revisiting the first and the second week, so there's a bunch of content for you to watch. Second week's game of Team Aufsteigende Adler versus Knights, Godfather managed to execute the perfect Dragon Steal, but unfortunately it wasn't enough, and TA still managed to take the win.
It's way too late.
Nocturne has been used.
Nocturne steals
the dragon! What a steal. Vex Circle again. A 3-man knockup from Arcan. Both supports are down. That's all it so far. Victor coming in with huge damage. Even with all the CC they have, the Victor damage with his 3 items is just too much for them to handle.
In first week's game, Paragon versus EGA, we get the perfect example of how good right balancing team is actually working.
On a Death Whisper, Akali dashes in and dashes right back out. Death Whisper wanted to be hit with a deadly first. Claws going back in. Scarecrow picking up the kill onto the Thresh, but I don't know if it matters. This Aphelios has hit full Ascension mode, doing so much damage, going flashing into the enemy team. A triple kill. I'm sorry, a double kill. Killmonger stole that kill on the end of it. Unicorn not able to do anything. There's the triple kill right there, and that should be the end of the game.
In-game EGA versus PGN, Nikos Bellic let the nerves get the best of him.
Speaking of snowballing, not looking like Nico's able to do anything. Nico, leave the Grog, man! It's not worth it! It's going to get the kill. Quaz was looking like they actually pulling the prank on the other side of it. Quaz getting hit with the death sentence, going to flash over, but there's nowhere you can go because the flash is off, and Last Chance is going to die. Oh, here goes the Hex Gate again, but Death Whisper, no, man, get after there. Just gets wrecked by Kanhatsi.
He whispers to the death.
Oh, it might happen
oh, here come again.
Oh, no, Nick.
Hello there. Have you not learned anything?
In second week's game, this esports forgot to call the Exterminator because they obviously had a bit too big of a bug problem.
The Kazakhs should be able to pick up the kill as he flashes away, but the Kane is there. The Kane should be able to pick up this kill. Kazakhs ults away, but he's still in the bush. The Kane misses his W. Kazakhs is trying desperately to get away from the Kane, but the Zoe is there. The Zoe with the bubble. Zoe Qs. Kazakhs is almost out. The bubble doesn't connect. The Zoe ults away and the Kazakhs is out.
In first week's game, NSG showed a dominating first performance versus Tinkertown Magpies by absolutely crushing every single lane at once.
Old Milk being so aggressive on over to Kryptonite, but it does not matter. An E after death takes her out, and one more kill goes in for NSG. Bug Splat. Wonderful flash ulti into Gwen to absolutely deny this early game finally, as we are. Ooh, Caitlyn managing to take on over. The 1 HP Seraphine is gonna let Sava put that kill.
Oh, the ace in the hole picks it up.
In A's debut game to the Cobalt Wins League, they showed a dominating performance versus KMG, finishing off the game 17-3 with a beautiful Misfortune ultimate, leading to a quadra kill.
To walk on out of there and join the rest of his team as they get sieged. The base is broken. That's a nice Glacial Prison straight onto Blako. Diana maybe in some trouble here. Going in though. Gotta find the Moonfall onto the carries. Annihilates the back line. The Sonic Screwdriver is still alive, but he just has a support Lissandra. Well, she can't do anything, Atro. He goes into the Glacial Tomb, but he is not going to survive. It's going to be a quadra kill for Caillou Tezore.
Evil Bobo thought to himself, these apes in suits look ugly, and decided to give them a little trim.
He spotted.
He does have the flash very soon. Exile will have the flash, but Obsidian going for the big engage. There's the Lightning Maelstrom going to come out. Into the backline goes Lissandra. Buys a lot of time with the Glacial Tomb here. Obsidian is extremely low. Nadir Blue, he's not going to be able to Destiny into the...
And now we have some juicy voice comes from Tinkertown Magpies and Team Evolution.
They're looking here, guys. Guys.
I'm TPing behind them, TPing behind them, TPing behind them.
Go.
Very nice, very nice.
So fast.
Look for hand, mid, look for hand, mid.
He's TPing behind them.
We do it now.
We do it.
My package round.
Do it.
And I cannot get you.
Go Jarvan, finish Jarvan. Jinx below.
Castellino's gonna jump over.
Jinx is down. We can finish Drake now, by the way. If
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh shit.
we're finishing Drake.
I
Guess it didn't survive. Can we Baron of this? I think we can. No.
Yeah, we got Baron. We got Baron. Oh.
Oh my god.
God damn, that could have.
In his debut game, Blade of Shibuya got a penta kill on Yone, making it to the play of the week.
Forced to roam around in lanes, and they've lost a bunch of important time on that. Now they've taken down that Drake as well. Finally though, Leona does fall out and Flinty gets away, but it looks like finally some of the kills are going to start running on through. Yone coming back up with the trades, the second, the third. Can you find the Penta? The Quadra is here. You're looking for Rekko and you're going to be given it. That's the Penta coming in for Shibuya.
In the second week's play of the week, we have this is Rekko absolutely wrecking the enemies on his Zoe.
Be happening now. The Zoe flashes just to pick up another summoner.
Good use of the wall there by the king to pop the Zed out to the wrong side.
Oh, the Zoe damage! What was that? She one-shotted the Kha'Zix here without using Ignite or anything else. She almost one-shot the king. No,
that was
Yumi's
EOV.
dead due to the Ignite.
That's enough of the good plays. Now we come to what you've all been waiting for. The most questionable plays by you in the first 2 weeks. Let's go.
I think you're greedy a bit too much for the kill here. Shed, an awful flash does not hit.
We can see a really bad dive from Team Aufsteigender Adler and even worse Hecarim.
Renekton will be popped. And Hecarim
Hecarim misses his E though, and Shen's going to get away.
Hecarim E's a minion by accident, and Shen will live. Vex getting.
So trusted you.
Liker was really not having a great day on Hecarim, and Unique Boomerang should probably go back to 4th grade because even a 12-year-old can calculate that will not work out.
And is trying to counter get mid. Alright, Hecarim is popped. The fear does not land, but he does knock the Vex away. Stand United will be used. Nocturne are coming as well. The TP from Shen will be cancelled, but the Doom and Gloom will find the follow-up kill on the Hecarim. Vex
go
takes
back
the
in.
R back in, which is a complete troll.
That's it, and we see
Kha'Zix
Kha'Zix
gets
getting
out.
away, but on return.
Trying to play as a team like they're doing right now. They are going to be 3-on-1, 4-on-1, even if they don't get that kill on Kench.
He's going to be ghosting
they're on
away.
Another partner now. Yeah.
He-
He's gonna get
he's
ghosted away, and now mid side is open.
Reaper, maybe you should build Everfrost on LeBlanc so you will have a last chance of hitting a skill shot.
The snowball
Oh,
to
no.
just. Oh, here it comes.
Oh no, last chance. Everything's going to miss. The chains, the distortion, and everything. Last chance putting on his blue suede shoes.
And now we have the most tilting plays of week 1 and week 2.
Brush Skarner here as well, which I am definitely a fan of. Flex, Hex Flash over the wall. There's the Impale. Flexing gonna go for the big play here. It's gonna be a lot of CC. Do they have the damage? He is almost down. Eon, he had the heal. The gold card, he stayed alive. And now Flexen is the one in trouble.
2 tower here as well. But they're not. Well, Kennen is going in with his ulti. He's almost killing the Yorick, but he's
Oh, but
trapped.
he
Will
can't.
Yorick make?
Oh,
The
Yorick flashes it.
and the Kennen hits him with the last 2 to kill him. We see the Jinx ulti just.
Nick, are you okay?
Meanwhile.
And now, since we're all crying from previous clips, it's time to cheer up and watch last week's funny plays and moments.
All right, well, what's your favorite potato, Atro? What are you gonna sell us?
Ah, look, man, I can't really sell it to you because it's very basic. I love my crisps. I love my chips. You know.
Oh, the potato chip.
Yeah,
A very humble
they're
form,
all
but-
supreme. I agree with Tectiel here. They're all supreme.
How can you still be doing analysis when this is going on?
It's a
And
bot lane
CS.
dying a couple times, just giving SPX the chance to punish this mid game a lot more than they should be able to against a scaling comp.
Mhm. Yeah, and considering that Ocean Dragon was already picked up for them in less than 2 minutes, this next one is going to come up. Then the next one will come up in about 5 minutes. So we could easily see like a 25-minute.
Any final words you want to say before we end this long stream?
In Germany we say ehrlich einfach.
Razor, you sneaky son of a gun. I know exactly what that means, but I won't tell. And here you can see the longest team fight pulled off ever. 2 minutes long. SPX versus AIS, Division 2, Week 1. Let's go.
$2,000 years later.
The Event Horizon goes back out, and Grizz is stuck in another cage. He has our ultimate, picks up the kill on the blue. Serval God is going to Zanyas, but it is going to be the end for him as well. Grizz trying to do his best to pick up the kill on the Freaky Dragon. Freaky Dragon popping the Zanyas. Fitz is fighting as well. This is the longest team fight known to man.
It never ends.
As well. Allegazia going to get ran down by the Scion ultimate. Grizz is so low himself, and that should be the game, Stevo. That should be everything. My throat is dying from so many words that I've said in the past 2 seconds. It is going to be Apes and Suits picking up the win over SPX.
Alright, that was it for this week's episode of The Rundown. If you want to be in the next episode, be sure to make clips on Twitch, or you can also post memes in our newly found Discord channel, CWL Rundown. We will be going through them all, and hopefully we can use them in the next week. See y'all later, guys. In this week's episode, this week's episode, we will be What the f am I saying, man? I'm so nervous. Reaper, dear Reaper. Reaper. Alright. And now we have the most tilting phase of week 1 and week 2. I did week 1 and week 2. Valentine's Day, 2 weeks.
10 days.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.
Hello everybody, us Cobalt Wins League enjoyers have had
Hello, everyone. Welcome, one and all, to opening day of the Cobalt Wins League Season 7. We are starting things off with some action from the second division, as defending champions INT Basilisk will be taking the Rift under a new banner. They are now known as Low Expectations, and they will be battling against some newcomers to the CWL, Eyes of the Void, in a 2-game set to start off the season. My name is Crewman44. I am thrilled to be back once again for another split of the CWL, and I am joined in the studio by none other than Drake to kick things off. Drake, how's it going? We need to start off the stream actually with an explanation. Sir, why are you late today?
Listen, I was working overtime, all right? I work 50-hour work weeks, 70 sometimes, usually 50. But I'm working, bro. Like, I'm in a coffee shop now. You can see me casting live on the coffee beans. No, I mean, that is actually my excuse. I was at work. But the public transportation, bro. Can we talk about it? Like, it's chalked. There's a reason that America hasn't adopted that. You know what I mean? Okay, it looks like we're starting Champ Select. But either way, I'll claim that it is because bedbugs from France finally made it to Europe. And the tube just doesn't work. Not my fault.
Oh man, because of bedbugs.
Yeah, bedbugs, bro. They're everywhere.
Well, really, I think we'd like to get to a point where, you take your responsibilities here in the CWL a little bit more seriously, Drake. It's should really probably be your full-time job over any kind of silly coffee shop gig that's giving you actual money. Anyways, we can sort all that out later. We are indeed into this draft for game number 1. Eyes of the Void going to be starting things off on the blue side. Low Expectations over here on the red. We'll be able to get that counter pick in this first game. And Drake, we also do have a brand new patch to start off our brand new season 13-20. It's a bit of a doozy. Are you all caught up on that?
Yeah, this patch is absolutely insane. Everything is different. No champion plays the same. No role plays the same. There's different priorities on different roles. Obviously, you won't see it in Worlds because they're going to be playing on a patch behind. But since we're going to be seeing it here today, you're definitely going to find that the meta is nowhere near what it used to be.
Yeah, things have been shaken up quite a bit, particularly in the jungle, my own home on Summer's Rift. So it has been difficult. I'm not having a great time so far.
Bro, it's just a nightmare. I don't even know what I'm doing in solo queue. Like, I play Graves and it feels good, but then the next game, I play a tank, and then those are supposed to be OP, but it just doesn't work for me. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, well, clearly, as we can see in this game, the junglers are going to go towards that tank route, and I think you are certainly correct in your assertion there that the tanks are theoretically supposed to be better on this patch, on this current iteration of the game, because it is more difficult, right, for junglers to gain high economies. With the jungle changes that did come through. So tanks theoretically going to be offering a little bit more value, a little bit more reliable in this new world in which we find ourselves. But we'll have to see, what these junglers are going to be able to make happen, with all those changes.
Yeah, and I mean, especially in the 5v5 setting, right, where junglers don't typically get as many of the resources. But moving away from the jungle, I think a lot of the focus should be on Jinx right now. This champion is absolutely turbo broken. It's just not okay. The champion shouldn't be allowed to be in the game at the moment in the state that she's currently in. And it's crazy that she was left till 4th pick. I assume that this is because draft was done before we actually showed up, because we left it quite long. But assuming that Jinx was 1st pick, this champion, absolutely turbo broken. I don't understand why we didn't ban it. You're going to find out. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I'm assuming that Jinx was the B1 option for the Void squad over here. That would make the most sense to me. And yeah, I think we can expect that to be a really powerful pick. On the other side here, the Twitch Lulu going to be leaning against the Jinx Taric down there, Drake. It seems maybe a little bit difficult, but the Lulu Twitch is at least a strong duo in isolation, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely should be, and it has been for however long, right? Like, it probably is since either Lulu or Twitch came out. I can't remember which one came out first, but a tale as old as time, that Twitch Lulu bot lane. And I think moving away from there, Azir, another champion that we were talking about, like, the meta's changed a lot, but seeing him resurface, seeing the Orianna and Syndra bans come out, you can see that a little bit of the meta is still remaining, and that's definitely where you would look, is towards that middle lane where the champions are still incredibly strong, because you were talking about changes, you were talking about jungle changing a ton, but I don't think the mid lane actually changed all that much.
Yeah, that's true. You know, Orianna is definitely seeming to be the queen of the mid lane at the moment. Syndra also extremely powerful in her current state. That's another option that appears to have been banned away here in this first game, the Syndra ban on the blue side in that first rotation. But the Azir as well, you know, definitely a relatively high priority still despite the nerfs, and going to be laning up against the Gang here in this first game, Drake. Gangplank mid, not something that we all too often. I feel like he probably will struggle into the range of the Azir. What do you think there?
Yeah, it's a little weird because Gangplank is one of those champions where if you play him well and you're able to operate him, it's like it's as bad as Twitch. You know, you're space gliding on people, and you're one-shotting them with a barrel. You're just absolutely critting out of your mind, and you know you probably don't deserve it, but for some reason that 20% chance is 100% when you're playing the champion, and like that's a reality of if you are a decent Gangplank and you are able to operate the champion very well. But if you're not at that level, if you're not somebody who is what you consider like a Gangplank connoisseur, then it could definitely be a case where Azir is outranging you, you're getting poked down, and the lane is absolutely miserable here. But Ignite, it gives me a little bit of an inkling that maybe he's a little bit confident on this champion.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't see any op.gg info for I'm with you on the Gangplank, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he is not proficient on the pick. We'll just have to wait and see as we get on to the Rift. But about 1 minute left in our delay, Drake. Let's really quickly get a prediction from you. Which team composition do you prefer here for this first game? You think either squad found a meaningful advantage in the draft?
I actually think that we were talking about like champions coming out of the woodwork like Jinx, who that's just a really strong champion at the moment. But I think that a really good answer coming from the other side is that Malphite, is the Maokai, and honestly the Azir as well. Just a lot of backline access on this team, and Twitch Lulu champions that are able to kind of facilitate themselves in and out of lane. I think that honestly the team on my right side, the red side draft, LE definitely has, in my opinion, the better draft, but it has nothing to do with what champions are actually better. It just has to do with execution, and getting onto that Jinx seems really easy.
And they are the defending champs as well, right? So we'll have to see if they're able to get the win here in Game 1, or if the Jinx will be just too powerful. Don't go anywhere, guys. Season 7 begins right after this. All right, everybody, welcome on to Summoner's Rift. Sorry about the slightly extended break there. You know, just some technical difficulties getting everything sorted for the new season, as to be expected. You know, got to iron out the kinks still. But we luckily did not miss too much Drake. Still 0-0 on the scoreboard. Looks like our junglers are clearing towards opposite sides. Zach is coming down towards this Jinx lane.
Yeah, and Maokai is heading towards that top side. It looks like they're about even on clear speed. Zach's a little bit quicker as of right now. And honestly, kind of a weird gank path. I mean, a clear path for Maokai, skipping over his Raptors probably to avoid vision there. So a lot of awareness actually coming out in this early game from these junglers, but no impact on the lanes just yet. You were talking about an issue with the client and an issue with League of Legends with the new patch. Were you playing the day of the new patch release? I have a question.
I don't know if I was playing too much on the day it came out, no.
Oh my goodness, bro, it absolutely crazy. No matter what the map was, it was like Ocean Soul map.
It was Ocean every game?
Yeah, no, but like it would be Infernal Soul, and like you visually you would see that the wall is gone, but you would not be able to walk through it. It would make you auto path around it for the entire day. Bro, it was and I was playing ranked. It was so doomed. It was so doomed.
Man.
But it looks like Maka's sitting top.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of a gank attempt coming out here from Amunaj. Has the flash available, of course, but not going to get the chance to use it. That's how do we say that?
Nesabe.
Nesabe, able to get the stun off and dissuade that gank attempt. So, good defensive play from the Kennen. Jungler's going to trade off those Scuttle Crabs, so completely even so far here in game one.
And if anything, I would say that there's a little bit more pressure coming out from this Zach. He did just go on vision, but up until this point, he hadn't shown on vision, so he was having a little bit more pressure on the map. I don't think he should be able to find anything in the mid lane right now. He's literally on vision. Okay, Azir had the burn flash anyways? Okay.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, the Gangplank trying to bait that one in. We do have the flash forward for Amunaj, looking for another attempt in this top lane. Nesabe able to flash away underneath the turret. That is definitely an advantage trade for the Maokai, able to trade his flash for that of the Kennen, but the fact that the Azir, we just saw losing that flash in mid lane as well, does make things a little bit less ideal for low expectations.
That's crazy. That's actually so unlucky, at least for the side of...
Not Some Potato is not so done with these gank attempts just yet. Still hasn't gone back to base and doesn't seem to care very much. Malphite does still have his own flash. We are going to go in with the slingshot. Not going to be able to get in range to get off that second auto, though. So Potato is going to be significantly down tempo now as Amunash has already completed the first recall.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anybody's found anything fruitful just yet, but a lot of things... I think down the right path of what they should be aiming for. Although I do feel like we should be looking for a little bit more pressure in this bot side, but maybe it's just a case of if either of these hyper carries get ahead, the game is kind of over. So maybe they don't want to have any impact on that lane. They want to be able to put pressure in other lanes for now. And then, level 6.
Force underneath the turret. There it is. Single tracks. Exactly right, Drake. He just takes over to level 6. Straight in for that kill. Knew that he had the burst damage necessary. And that is the first blood for the defending champs. Low expectations on the board.
I'm a little bit astonished with myself. I couldn't even keep up. Neither could the observer here. But either way, it was an instant kill for single tracks and a really good pickup for him. And more pressure even going towards that top side, towards the mid lane. And I think that, like I was saying, it might be a product of if either of the ADCs gets ahead, the game is kind of over. So neither jungler wants to make a mistake of forcing a gank and then getting counter ganked. And then it's just a case of whichever ADC got the kill wins the game. So maybe just playing a little bit safe for now. You can see Twitch Azir moving down to this dragon with Maokai. I don't think it'll be threatened whatsoever. So it should just be a free pickup for the reigning champions.
Yeah, feeling really good. And it is also worth mentioning, both sides, very, very strong scaling on both team compositions here. So, you know, it's not necessarily imperative for either squad to be picking up these dragons. And, you know, that is something else that was changed on the patch as well, is actually the individual dragons substantially weaker than they were before. So, you know, Eyes of the Void, probably not really too bothered by that first dragon going over.
Yeah, I would assume not, but definitely going to be a case of if it gets to a point where a soul is contentious, you really can't give it anymore. Even though like you did say that they were nerfed, and that is the case that like dragons on their own have been nerfed quite a bit. I think that soul has a higher win rate now.
Yeah,
overall.
the soul was buffed. All of the souls were buffed. It's just the individual dragons that are weak.
Yeah, so it's definitely a case of one is fine, but if it gets to a dragon stacking threat, it's so much more threatening and has so much more pressure on the game.
All right, well, both junglers now. Rift Herald's going to be the next objective, so both junglers on the top side of the map. Amunaj could come in for the look here. Unstoppable Force for the setup. Slicing Maelstrom comes out from Nesabe, trying to retreat through the Tribe Rush. Has his own jungler sort of in the area, but I don't know if the Zac is going to be here in time. Does come in, finds the knock of the strike. He strikes as well, and that is going to be way too much damage. Way more damage than low expectations were ready for. And now the Azir is going to have to try and beat a hasty retreat. The flash over the wall, I'm with you, looking to chase him down. The Shrima shot will come out, but the slingshot straight over the Sand Soldiers. Warlock slowed up, and there's one more shot from the pistol. And I'm with you as I'm with their first kill of the game.
Pirate making a couple of pirate moves in this middle lane. That was crazy, honestly. I didn't see that as a kill potential, but definitely on the same page with his jungler. Not Some Potato still had flash available, so something, there was even more follow-up than I thought there was. So I'm with you, making sure that the jungler is with him and making something happen as we see this replay come through. You can see that barely Kennen survives with like on a sliver of HP, makes it to his Tribe Rush, and then Zac actually doesn't pull the trigger right away. He waits for the perfect opportune moment to try and get a double E. Doesn't quite get the double knockup, but he does land the Q and then the R, and so much damage in this early game. Zac and Kennen absolutely deleting the two players on that top side. And we didn't get to see the replay of the mid lane situation, but Zac picked up another assist. Really well played by Not Some Potato so far in this early game.
Absolutely. Feeling pretty good about how this is going so far. And the gangplank is something that we were a little bit curious about, right? seemed like it was going to be a little bit difficult to pilot, particularly in this laning phase. But, you know, he has been definitely pretty comfortable in that lane so far. And it is, you know, about a 1,500 gold lead early on for Eyes of the Void. That's going to be the flash forward as the Taric in trouble here, getting collapsed on. There's going to be no way out for Ginger in here. Does try to flash, has the Taric ultimate as well, but it was just too far to safety. Will go down. Not some potato back in the top lane. Unstoppable Force didn't really get as much distance as I think Single Tracks would have liked, and that is going to mean the Malphite goes down once again. It's number 2 for the Zac Warlock in the mid lane. Oh, flashes away, but still dies to the cannon barrage, and the Pirate is very much online already. That first item completed, and I'm with you, is already starting to look pretty scary.
I mean, we were doubting him, and we definitely shouldn't have been. He's showing us why. The fadeaway did so much damage to the Azir just with the auto attacks, honestly. And this Essence Reaver early just seems so powerful. And it's something that you see on Draven a lot. Once he finishes that Essence Reaver, it's like, okay, well, GG, this guy got a like 2,000 gold item. What the heck? I'm an item down, and I feel like we're even in gold. But this Gangplank making it work as well. Fenrir? Can he win this?
Going for it. That's going to be Comics. As that poison is stacked up pretty significantly. The flash forward. He thinks he can get it. They contaminate. Where is it? Is it already used? The Jinx is able to survive. And the Lulu is going to get taken down as Gingerin able to lay in those auto attacks with the hammer. And now Fenrir. Oh, maybe he was out of mana. He might not have had mana to cast the Contaminate. And now the Twisted Advance will be tossed out just to cover the Twitch's retreat. But ultimately, that was the flash off of Fenrir, the Ghost as well, the Maokai ultimate. And they just lost their Lulu. They didn't get anything.
I don't even have words. What is going on? If this is the team that won last season, if low expectations could make our expectations any lower, I don't think they could. But Eyes of the Void absolutely popping off in this early game, and that might just be a nature of the champions, but I would argue that Jinx doesn't do that much damage early. Gangplank needs a little bit of time to get online. Zac, I guess, has a lot of gank potential, but Maokai should be able to keep up. This is just excellent play and excellent macro coming out from the side of Eyes of the Void in this early game.
Yeah, I assumed that the name change for low oh, the Elastic Slingshot in, finds the knock-up onto Xenodokio. I'm just going to call him Xeno, I think. But that will not be any further fighting in the bot side river for now. The second dragon is alive, so we're trying to gain some vision control over the area. We do see Amunaj waiting in the river brush for a potential angle onto Jinx if she wants to push up towards the turret, but everybody just waiting patiently for now. Here comes Fenrir now. Very sneaky rat, and Amix is aware of this, though. Playing respectfully, knows that the Twitch could be sneaking up on him and not going to get caught out.
Is this
just top lane, sliced Maelstrom. Yeah, this is looking like a kill on my screen. Single Tracks does have the ultimate. I think had the ultimate and flash, but just feeling like wasn't going to be able to get away for whatever reason, and is going to end up going down once again here. That's going to be the dragon going over, and now the engage coming through as well. It's beautiful from the potato. So much burst damage from the pirate as well. Warlock sliding away, but still going to get taken down by the super mega death rocket from Comic. Now flashing forward. They say he gets the stun. One more auto attack. The wild growth to keep Xeno alive, but the barrel chain is there, and it's going to be another kill for the Gangplank number 3 for the mid laner of Eyes of the Void. Teleport coming out now as Malphite respawned. Held onto the ultimate for this look now. Does get the Unstoppable Force onto 3, flashing forward. Shutdown goes over as Malphite gets the kill onto the Jinx. Gingerin now running out of HP. Taric no ult. Going back in as the Zac as he has no other choice. Does find the knock-up, gets the kill, turns it around onto the Twitch. Single Tracks now will be able to get back underneath the turret, but an even trade down here in the bot lane, and Shelly took her time, but finally is able to get the headbutt into the tier 1 as well.
Such an extended fight, and honestly, if it wasn't as extended, I think Eyes of the Void would have just walked away with such a huge win there. Still, obviously, the kills 11-4. You can see the gold lead ballooning even further, despite a couple of kills going over. The shutdowns is what's important. Those didn't end up going over, so you still have so much gold on the heads of Zac, Gangplank, and Kennen. 11-4 is the kills. 7,000 gold lead in the early game with champions like Gangplank, with champions like Jinx that scale well into the late game. It kind of doesn't ever look more doomed than this, and it's going to take a little bit of effort and probably a miracle. Oh, Warlock?
Yeah.
This isn't a miracle.
I think, yeah, well, the Azir, the knock-up will come through. This is very deep for the potato, but oh my, yeah. Oh my goodness is right. That was a lot of damage. 2 items for the plank.
Yeah, we needed a miracle, and we got a dead bird. I like fried chicken, so I'm not complaining, but in general, I feel like his team might be. But either way...
He would taste very good. I think he's more often referred to as a pigeon rather than a chicken.
Hey, pigeon's good too, you know? I mean, a bird's a bird. And bird is the word.
I guess some people do enjoy pigeon, right? That's a thing in some parts of the world. Never tried it myself.
Fine.
But... Yeah. But regardless, you know, you're absolutely right in your assertion a moment ago that this gold lead that is currently in favor of Eyes of the Void is pretty massive, and it's going to be really difficult for Low Expectations to come back from this position.
Look at items on Maokai and look at items on Zek. Maokai just bought Sunfire. Just now, in base.
Yeah, he's down a full item. Absolutely. I mean, Zak's been having an absolute banger of a game here. The Potato has been all over Summoner's Rift, finding advantages in all of these lanes. What is Gangplank doing over here? Does it matter? Does he get the kill anyway? The Maokai has flashed over the wall, will survive. His orange will come through, but I'm with you, is not going to be able to get away. I don't know what the Pirate was doing all over there all by himself, and will end up giving over a pretty hefty shutdown to the Pigeon himself.
Yeah, maybe getting a little bit too confident, a little bit too comfortable in his skin, and obviously in the enemy team's jungle. Definitely thought he was a little bit more fed than he was, and wasn't able to one-shot the Maokai. It might have actually been because he finally completed the Sunfire. Wait, is this dive actually going to work?
My goodness. Underneath the turret we go. Ken's going to take a bunch of turret shots here. Will survive, though. The dive, pretty clean there. The juggling of the aggro, well done from Eyes of the Void. Going to be able to execute on the dive and secure the tier 1 turret. This is their second turret of the game.
Yeah, really well done of them to be able to secure that. It did look a little iffy at first, but it worked out in the end. That's what matters. No one died, and we got the kill as well as the turret. So now they're going to go into resets. I assume Zach will reset very shortly as well. And if we're looking at gold, he has about 1,200 in his pocket, so he'll be able to finish his boots up, maybe buy Ruby Crystal and get back on that map. And everybody else already with a clean reset on the side of Eyes of the Void. You can look more on the right side and see that Low Expectations, this Twitch still needs to get a reset in. So a little bit of tempo in the favor of Eyes of the Void as you see them moving towards this Rift Herald. It should just be their objective, and that's how the game's going to go until, like I said, one of those miracle plays ends up happening and Eyes of the Void just make a misstep that gets punished well enough that Low Expectations can find their way back in.
Yeah, I mean, we have now seen that one overextension from the Gangplank, right? So
100%.
We can't entirely rule out that possibility that some mistakes end up coming through and we see the game swing back in the other direction. But, I mean, if we're putting odds on it, I'm going to say pretty unlikely at this point, especially with Jinx here, who's going to continue scaling into this one. And, I mean, the Gangplank is as well. You know, even if he does overextend a couple more times, he's already so far ahead.
Oh, but Comics?
Oh, Comics, yeah, in trouble. Will flash away, but the flash follows there for Fenrir, and the Contaminate. He had mana for it this time. And the Rat will find his prey underneath the turret. Fenrir, pretty much a solo kill there. I mean, had a shield on, I think, from the Lulu, but nice from the Twitch to find that angle. In comes Zach, though, with the Dazzle on as well. The Wild Growth will come out. Twitch able to create enough space, but the Dragon has not been finished off just yet. This is a 5v4 in favor of the side of Low Expectations. A big scoop as well, but the Slicing Maelstrom for the counter engage, and the Shuriman Shuffle has been neutralized. The Zac into the Bloblets, but nobody's going to be able to take him down. It's Eyes of the Void absolutely running over the team fight. Xeno, the last to fall. They complete the clinical 5-0, and now they'll be able to stack up their second Dragon as well.
I mean, Comics died, but it didn't matter at all. I mean, to be fair, we were talking about Jinx being overpowered. We were talking about her being so broken, and obviously, Low Expectations drafting for that. They drafted to kill the Jinx, but I guess we didn't think about the fact that if the Jinx is the target, but they have a fed Zac, a fed Gangplank, and a fed Kennen, does it matter? You know? If they can kill the Jinx, but everybody on your team is super fed, then I guess it doesn't matter, because you're able to win these 4v5s just like we're going to see in this replay. And I think it was really good to pop that Tarkle when it actually happened. It voided the Azir damage, avoided the Twitch damage as well. Zac absolutely one-shotting the ADC. ADC's in 2023. And everybody just cleaning up on their respective sides of that fight. Kennen Ultimate was absolutely massive as well. And yeah. Easy 5 kills, just like you said, for none. And all they had to do was sacrifice their Jinx early on. It was a little bit of a blood sacrifice, but it worked out.
It sure did, and pretty heartbreaking, honestly, for low expectations. I mean, we have to imagine that was probably the best look that they were going to get for the rest of this game. I mean, they just picked off the enemy carry. They had a beautiful engage as well. Malphite ultimate, 3-man, setting up for the big shuffle from the Azir. But it didn't work. They were just too far behind. The counter engage was too clean from Eyes of the Void, and I mean, after that, it really did feel like the backbreaker to me. 10,000, that was the gold lead.
Yeah, it's quite insurmountable, if I'm being honest. But, you know, like we were talking about, this game is far from perfect, and we've already seen some mistakes coming out from the side of Eyes of the Void. So it's nowhere near over yet. And I think it's really important to note that another key factor of that fight was the Taric ultimate being literally perfectly timed. I could not have seen a better one. We might be able to see Malphite and Azir find something down here. Okay, the double knockup.
Yeah, Kennen is going to get baited in. They burst him down. Shut down, going over to single tracks. They make it happen. They do commit both ultimates from the Malphite and from the Azir, and Warlock has no TP either, so we can see the result of that. Eyes of the Void directly onto the Baron. It is their objective after all. Void in the team name. Well, Jinx didn't get into the Taric ultimate. She's going to get taken down, but Fenriri surely will also fall. I'm with you, able to take that kill onto the Twitch, so a 1-for-1. This is now 3v4 in favor of low expectations, but Potato in the pit, very healthy on the Zac with the smite, but this Baron is extraordinarily slow. They're not able to do this very quickly whatsoever, and Amunaj also does have the flash and the smite. The engage from Potato, they're peeling off the objective. Great call, I think, for Eyes of the Void. The teleport coming through now from the Kennen, who is respawned. Now Xeno is going to get taken down by that gangplank. One more bullet, and that's number 7 for the Pirate. Very, very wealthy man. Some very successful plunder that he's been able to find in this game. And now back onto the Baron we go. Amunaj still here, still has flash, still has smite, but this is just getting more and more difficult. He can throw some saplings in to get vision, but Kennen moving over will be able to zone out that enemy jungler. And very nicely done from Eyes of the Void. They control the area, they turn off the Baron, they don't flip it. Very, very clean.
Yeah, super controlled play coming out from the side of Eyes of the Void. I think it was very clear when they were hitting that Baron that the object of that situation was not to kill the Baron. You were talking about how slow they were taking it. It was not taking any damage, but the key factor in that fight was that Zac, Taric, and Gangplank were also not taking any damage. So they were just constantly putting pressure on the enemy team to look for them to find something to get them off that Baron. And obviously, they ended up getting punished for it. So really well played to just bait the enemy team in. They didn't want the Baron, they just wanted the fight, and that's exactly what they got, and they won it. So as we look at the gold differential now, 10,000 still, but the pushing power, I mean, it's as good as done.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, for really strong teams, you know, teams that we have high expectations for, you know, teams at high skill levels, Nesabe, a little bit caught out here. The Nature's Grasp will connect in the pick. Once again, a pick is found by low expectations, but they've sacked control over the mid lane to find it. They will lose their mid inhibitor. The wave is here, so it's going to be the side of Eyes of the Void that can continue to press forward. The Maokai ultimate committed as well to find that angle. Fenrir moving in now to try and figure out this minion wave. Single tracks getting engaged on. In comes Amunaj off on the side as well. It is going to be the Potato, a little bit focused down at the start, but doing all this damage into the Zac. It is the unstoppable force onto 2. They do find it onto Gangplank and Ginger in, but it's the follow-up isn't quite there. Amunaj going to go in now with the twisted advance. Smashes I'm with you back towards the team, and they kill the Gangplank. The Azir is able to make it happen, and now it's just Comics. And the Jinx resets power through this fight. The front line is pretty much gone. It's just Comics and Potato that are left. The Blast Cone not utilized very effectively there by Comics. Joe not going to be able to get away as a result. Fenriri chases him down. Oh, one more auto attack should be enough. The poison maybe even will do it. Potato's surviving for so long. The stretchy strikes. He gets the burst damage. The Zac takes down the Pigeon. He gets shot out of the sky by the Bloblets. Another knockup, but it's not going to be enough as Fenriri finds the maxed out shutdown. And that was very chaotic, but ultimately low expectations. Getting the better end this time.
I mean, they finally found a mistake that they could punish. Really well played. by Low Expectations to be able to get something back there. And Twitch got 2,300 damage in this fight. Look at the way that he's gliding around. Jinx doing so much damage with that reset, but not able to find anything further. Azir playing really well to kite the left side of the fight, and Twitch just barely staying alive with this Lulu shielding. Finds that kill, the 2 kill assists with the Azir, and chase down really, really well.
Oh.
So, as we...
Oh my gosh, the cannon will go down eventually. Was able to take down the Twitch in a 1v2 before the kill did eventually end up going over to the sapling. Another 1-for-1 trade while we were in the replay. These teams just absolutely going at it. There are no breaks on either one of these trains, Drake. The Dragon now is the target, and control over the river held by Eyes of the Void. They will be able to put themselves at Hextech Soul Point.
Yeah, to be fair, I think that it is just a case of the objective being up, right? And Eyes of the Void don't want to give it over. Is Lulu
Slingshot in.
No?
Nah,
Okay.
looking like she... No.
They just gave each other a little high five, you know, walked away. Just making sure they know about each other, and you know, we can't just walk an award for that. We have to physically touch and then walk away.
Yeah, it was the backup was just a little bit closer for the Lulu, so Potato not wanting to commit any further for that one. And you know, Eyes of the Void, they're in a really dominant position still in this game. We don't want to see them going for any more sloppy plays, right? Like I kind of do respect the attempt at the end there, going for the team fight in the enemy base when you do have a huge lead like this, but they were down a man looking for that play, right? It was aggressive, it was risky, and it didn't end up working out. So, want to see them close it out cleanly from here.
Malphite could look for a really big engage here. I would say Eyes of the Void needs to be really careful here. Twitch has a gliding angle.
Kennen does have a little bit of a flank angle as well. Yeah, Taric Ultimate will come down for the disengage, and Kennen's just going to zero out the Twitch. The Wild Growth comes through, but it's not enough. As Naysabi finds the flank beautifully, takes down both carries, and now it's just the front line that's left for Low Expectations. They are enough to get Comics. They take down the Jinx, but it looks like that's all they're... Oh, they do manage to get the Taric as well. But that, I do believe, is all that they are going to find for the rest of this first game, as the death timer's much too long to be able to come back in time, and 26.5 minutes on the game clock, and Eyes of the Void going to take the first game in tonight's set.
Really well played. I mean, not as clean as we'd hoped, right? Like we were talking about how the game might have been closed out a little bit cleaner, but regardless, very well played by Eyes of the Void, showing us that maybe we should be having low expectations of low expectations. A 29-16 victory is very dominant, and they controlled objectives the entire game. I mean, we were talking about the fact that maybe the draft had a little bit of early game towards their favor, but nowhere near as much as they showed, in my opinion. They just operated their champions better and operated the macro, operated the map, and found a very solid victory. And after that game, I do think that the opposing team, Low Expectations, does need to start thinking about draft a little bit more, and honestly just get something to facilitate their early game, because they weren't able to find it in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there was a whoopsie here, whoopsie there maybe, but ultimately it was very one-sided in favor of Eyes of the Void, right? So they found that huge advantage early on, and they did snowball quite effectively. They played extremely aggressively with their lead, and for the most part, it definitely worked out in their favor. We're going to be able to get into Game 2 in just a moment here. Have a short break first, but Drake, before we go into that break, who's your POG for this first game for Eyes of the Void? You know, definitely, I think a couple of strong contenders here, particularly the top side of the map, I think was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think the Malphite. No, I'm just, I do think that Not Some Potato is probably my game of player of the game. This game, I think he facilitated everything. I mean, look at his KDA, 11, 1, and 11. That can't be more perfect. This guy absolutely popped off. Did like nearly the most damage in the game as a Zac. Like you can't ask for more in a jungler, and definitely had a huge impact in this one. And I don't think the game plays out anywhere near the same if he doesn't pop off as much as he did.
I do always love me some jungle POG votes, Drake, and I think this one is very, very well deserved for the Potato. By the way, his name is Not Some Potato, so does that actually imply that he is not a potato? Is he some other kind of vegetable, or is he just, he's not some potato, he's like the potato?
Yeah, I think that's it, in my opinion, at least. That's how I'm taking it, you know? He's not just some potato. He's the potato, you know what I mean?
He's the POG potato for
Yeah.
game number 1. Absolutely fantastic performance, getting all of those lanes ahead, especially, you know, finding some success snowballing top and mid in that first one. We'll see if he's going to be able to do it again from the red side this time, or if our, Season 6 champs are going to be able to bounce back after a very rough game number 1. Don't go anywhere, guys. CWL opening day. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to the CWL. We are getting ready for our Game 2 Champion Select. Teams will be swapping sides for this second game, so we're going to see Eyes of the Void now with that counterpick opportunity after handily taking game number 1, Drake. What kind of priorities do you think we should be expecting in this draft?
You know, it's really weird, right? Because we're in a position where, surprisingly, Jinx had very nominal impact on that game, and I think that's a champion that should be super focused on in the draft at the moment. So maybe my meta read's wrong. I mean, it is a case of, like you said, nobody's really sure what the meta is in this patch, and it is kind of what you want to make of it. We talked about tanks being kind of overpowered. Zac definitely looked freaking like a problem on that rift, so maybe that's a priority pick in this draft. Maybe we need to bend it away. But besides that, I think it is just a case of the way that these two teams read the meta and the way that Low Expectations manages to draft around their mistakes in the last game. Like, they had a couple of gaps, right? They didn't have enough facilitation in the early game. They didn't have any champions that could carry them towards the mid to late game. Maybe we see a Renekton topside. Maybe we see something that is arguably bad for the game, like not a great champion, but is able to do stuff early. I'm not sure. But that's where I would be looking if I were them.
Yeah, certainly. We will have to wait and see. It's an interesting question, right, Drake? Is how much of that previous game do we chalk up to the draft as opposed to the play, right? Because, you know, it didn't really feel that the drafts were too dissimilar, honestly, and what the teams were looking to do, right? But I do certainly think it's also, you know, you're making a good point there about the fact that there was clearly a lack of early game agency on the side of Low Expectations. You know, not to say that Eyes of the Void had like a ton of early game that they were able to find success with, but certainly, you know, they were able to do more in that portion of the game.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, maybe we look at, like I was saying, a little bit more of what the meta read is currently. I think we're seeing blue screen. Okay, it's fixed. But I definitely think it is going to be a case of we can't really predict it as much as I'd like to. And we're just going to have to see how these two teams adapt, because the meta read is completely wrong from what I thought it was, because Jinx, honestly, like, didn't have an impact. I hear Caitlyn's super broken right now, and she is in solo queue, but solo queue is not the same as 5v5s. Sometimes it's just a case of you pick what's comfortable in this situation. So we'll have to see if Gangplank gets picked up again. That actually seemed so broken as well. Might need to get banned away. Like, there's a couple of iterations that I'd like to see. But until we get into draft, I think it is less of the meta, like you said, and definitely a lot more of just going with gut feeling, especially considering that Low Expectations is a team that has succeeded in the past. They should be able to trust their gut if they're moving forward in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also, I think, should expect them to not really be too rattled by the loss, right? It was 100%. A relatively one-sided one, so that is something to consider. But like you said, Drake, you know, they do have that experience. They do have that those previous things that they can draw upon to try and keep their cool and not let that previous loss get them down too much. But I do think that the Gangplank, as you were just mentioning as well, is certainly something that we should also be keeping our eyes on for this next game. You know, of course, the Gangplank was buffed pretty substantially on 13-19, not this patch, but the previous one. And clearly is in a really, really powerful place right now. And the fact that they played it in the mid lane as well leads us to believe that it probably is a flex pick for this team, which gives it even more value.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of value in the draft, and flex picks are monster picks, honestly, when the meta isn't quite determined. So we'll have to see as we get closer to the draft. Apparently, ADC is taking a toilet break. So a little bit of a delay.
Sometimes nature grasps things. Sometimes
yeah,
it calls.
You know, sometimes nature does grasp. It's true. Nature does call as well.
Do you think nature is going to be grasping much on Summoner's Rift this game? Are we going to see another Maokai?
Honestly, if we're thinking about nature, I'm concerned that we haven't seen any Ivern priority. I know that Ivern is really popular in solo queue still super high win rate, even though obviously there's been a ton of changes and he was high win rate before those changes. They don't seem to be affecting him negatively, so I'm surprised there wasn't any priority there. But we were talking about comfort. These junglers definitely seemed comfortable on the champions they were playing, So it might just come down to that. I'm not sure. I'd like to see an Ivern, you know?
Yeah, Ivern definitely very, very powerful, especially with the changes to the increased durability on camps, right? Ivern is like one of only maybe a couple, like a very small number of champions in the game that is actually unaffected, completely unaffected by that change, right? Because of his passive and the way that it works, those changes to the jungle camps just aren't really gonna slow him down whatsoever. So that is definitely a pick that we're expecting to be very, very powerful on this patch. But the thing about Ivern Drake is he's one of those champions where you really need a lot of reps on Ivern to really understand his strengths and his limits and like how to really play it out. Like even down to his jungle clear is so unique, right? So, you know, it kind of goes back to our earlier conversation about drafting comfort for, you know, especially on opening day like this. You don't really want to be pulling out anything too crazy that you're not necessarily confident you'll be able to perform with.
Yeah, but you know, maybe these games are the days to test that stuff, you know, because you can't test it in playoffs when it's single elimination or you're on your second elimination. You know, you have to get it out of the way somehow, and maybe first series of the season is the way to go. I'm not sure. I would like to see some sort of deviation from what we saw in the last draft for sure. At least for low expectations. I think Eyes of the Void can stick with what they've done or show us something a little bit new, but I definitely see some drafts going the way of we stick with what we did in the past, and that way we keep a hold of our cards so we don't show too many of them, especially considering that it is the beginning of the season. But one win up is Eyes of the Void. We're in the draft. They're on the red side, and what will the first ban be? Volibear. Okay.
Interesting. I wonder if he was banned in the previous game as well, or what's going on with the Volibear there. But yeah, he's gonna get banned.
Yeah, maybe it's a one trick. I wouldn't be surprised, especially considering like the elo that we're in. I play in this elo, so I'm aware that we're necessarily, you know, the greatest players. These players are a lot better than me, but in general, Diamond to Emerald, you have a lot of one tricks. You have a lot of people that are proficient on singular champions, and maybe that's where Volibear came in. I think Zac is a super good identifiable ban, and you're already seeing a little bit of variation between the two games.
Certainly. Volibear flex pick as well, right? So we were discussing that earlier. It's another reason why he has some priority there. There are some Volibear proponents as well, like Kobe, the world's finals caster, right? Is a big proponent of Volibear at the moment. Apparently, he was able to reach Grandmaster not too long ago, playing almost exclusively Volibear. So certainly, that champion is very viable at the moment. Is not going to be played, though, on Summoner's Rift in this game. Rounding out our first phase of bans, it's going to be the Fiora, the Rakan, and the Syndra, taken away by Eyes of the Void. And the Ashe will be removed by Low Expectations. Jinx been left up here, Drake, and that is going to be the B1 selection.
I'm glad to see it, although I'm a little bit worried that it didn't have any impact in the last game, but it wasn't in the hands of Fenriri. And Fenriri did actually pop off last game. I mean, we didn't see much of it because he was on a Twitch that had a team that was behind. His front lane was dying quicker than, you know, cheese melts in a 90-degree oven. But, like, either way, I think putting him on a champion that's this strong, maybe we'll see a little bit of a different scenario. You see the Nocturne as well. I think that's a really good meta read. I think he's really strong at the moment. But J4 and Jhin are the responses, the double Js. We'll see if we can get 4 for Jhin. I'm not sure.
4 champions to start with J.
Yeah,
I guess that would be thematic.
Not Teemo. There's no way.
That's not going to get locked in, certainly
okay.
not. Not going to be panicking about that just yet. Jinx Leona is going to be the bot lane for Low Expectations. What do we think about Leona alongside the Jinx?
I think it's good in certain lanes. I feel like Jhin is a weird lane, right? And then you have the Janna, so a lot of disengage, a lot of range coming out from the side of Eyes of the Void. Theoretically, pre-Leona 6, they should never be able to get hit by Leona E. Obviously, that doesn't always play out as planned, but the Janna has a lot of disengage. Oh, wait, it's actually 3 Js. That's crazy.
1 J away?
There's no way. Wait, what's the fourth one? Joe Biden. Not sure.
New character in League of Legends, yes.
But we're focusing on top lane bans, and that's where the focus is between these two teams, besides the Soriana. Gangplank gets banned away. A lot of identifiable champions that made an impact in the last one. Gwen is a little bit of a monster pick, I'll be honest.
G, pretty close to J, just a few letters off there.
Same sounding, you know?
True. Interesting that Eyes of the Void have selected to blind pick their top laner, saving that counter pick for mid lane on their red side game.
Yeah, they might think it's a little bit more of an impactful role right now. I agree. Obviously, Kennen seemed to pop off in that last game, but Gangplank doing tons of damage. Azir even like showing up in that game despite being on the losing side. I think mid has a lot more impact than people think right now. There's no way they 4J it. There's no way they 4J it. They are
their fourth J champion.
psychopaths. There's no
It seems
way.
pretty good into Camille.
Okay.
I think it could work. Okay.
Oh lord, that would have been crazy. They lock in the Poppy though, and that's a good pick. Denying a lot of those dashes. Leona can't really engage. Nocturne can't engage. Camille can't get on the ADC. So kind of protect the president, but it's weird, right? Because I feel like they might be lacking in the damage department.
Who's our mid lane champion, Drake? For Eyes of the Void.
I didn't. Gwen?
Who's...
Definitely Gwen. Definitely Gwen.
Gwen
surely
mid?
It's Gwen. Yeah, surely it's Gwen. I'm with you as the mid laner. So he plays top lane champions, I guess. So we're seeing a Gwen mid.
Yeah,
Gwen mid is what my mid laner played in my last season that I played competitively. It was like low elo competitively, but competitively nonetheless. And Gwen absolutely demolishes champs like Victor, so I definitely am a proponent of it.
Interesting. So the Gwen, you know, maybe also a flex pick, and we're not entirely sure. But you actually feel like this is working out very much in favor of Eyes of the Void then. Presumably it is the Poppy into the top lane then. You feel like they got the counter pick in both solo lanes?
Yeah, I feel like they got really good answers for the champions that they're playing against, but it is definitely a reality of every champion on the side of on the blue side, on the side of low expectations is absolutely terrifying to play against. Like, I don't want to play against Leona. I don't want to play against Nocturne. I don't want to. Literally any champion on the left side of my screen, I see it and I'm like, like it might be a dodge angle, you know? So we'll have to see how it plays out, especially with the damage department being a little low in the ADC role on the right side of my screen. But Jin is good right now. I don't know. It's hard to read. It's hard to read here.
It is a very strange draft for the side of Eyes of the Void. I do agree. It's hard to know what to expect from this comp. You know, certainly on the side of low expectations, that composition is feeling very cohesive. Pretty much full dive, right? Full dive plus Victor.
And that's like what, like a season 7 comp, you know?
Yeah, it is pretty old school. Yeah, pretty classic comp here for low expectations. Maybe that's kind of the idea here in this game 2 draft, is go for something a little bit simpler. You know, go for something that maybe they feel like they can pilot a little bit more reliably, something that kind of plays itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, tried and true. Stick to the basics. Keep it simple, stupid. You know, any of the words that you want to go with, but I definitely do agree that going back to stuff that they're used to playing, maybe from 4 years ago, you know, half of us are boomers nowadays. But it is looking a little bit comfortable. A lot of follow-up with each other, a lot of damage coming out consistently from this Victor, from the Jinx, if they can get it off. And a lot of pick potential, which I think is really important when you have a Jinx who wants to scale into the team fights. But this Gwen could prove a thorn in the enemy team's side, with Jinx not being able to target her. You also see Poppy denying a lot of the engage. A lot of engage denial coming from Janna as well. These team fights are going to be really interesting to see how they play out. I would lean a little bit more towards low expectations on the draft side of who won. But I definitely think it does come down to execution. And, I mean, Eyes of the Void showed us that they have better execution in the last game. We'll have to see what happens in game 2.
Certainly. Eyes of the Void with the momentum, coming off that previous win that we just saw, but low expectations over onto the blue side now. They definitely have some strong tools to work with here in this second game. On to the Rift for game 2 in just a moment, guys. We will be right back. Welcome back onto the Rift, my dear League of Legends enjoyers, for the second game of the night, the second game of our first day of Season 7. Low expectations now over onto the blue side, seeing if they can get their first win. Going for a 5-man invade here at level 1, but they will be spotted out and gonna get paid for it. Look at that, 2 ward kills.
They did, yeah, ka-ching, bro. They got that money in the bank. To be fair, not something to be scoffed at. They also denied quite a bit of vision. Like, that is really good, actually.
Yeah. Gonna be no trinket ward for I'm With You for the first few minutes of the game. Probably doesn't have too much to be worried about. It is a Nocturne, after all, who is not necessarily known for going for any super early ganks.
Yeah, it is true, but you never know, you know? We can see some interesting gank pathing coming from Amunaj. It looks like he's going to be starting on that top side, so a lot of priority on the bottom side of the map, which, I mean, I do like to see with the Jinx. We were talking about it previously. There is a lot of disengage coming out from Jhin and Jenna just as champions, but we might be able to see something happen. I do think double ranged obviously has the push in the lane, or at least they should. So they could find themselves overextended. J4 pathing topside as well. It is making for a little bit of an interesting early game, but all of this kind of transpires in another minute and a half.
Yeah, definitely something to keep track of, the state of that bot lane and, you know, what Amunaj's situation is as the Nocturne does make his way towards that bottom half of the map. We do see that Single Tracks has opted out of the flash. There's pretty much to be expected, I think, with the Camille. Although it will likely be a little bit difficult to actually get kill pressure onto the Poppy in this matchup. So, see if there is some value that gets, you know, earned from the Ignite.
And I mean, Poppy is so underrated in lane. You don't hear about it enough, especially considering how oppressive she actually is. Especially in melee versus melee matchups. She's basically a ranged champion. Look at this damage, man. What is that? Yeah. She's healing to full. She has a shield. Like, top laners will talk about it if they're on your team and playing into this champion. But other than that... Oh, wait, engage in the bot lane.
Going in is not necessarily going to be too happy with the results of that one. This takes about half of his health bar on the way out after connecting that Zenith Blade. Relatively healthy. Still has the potions. And we have to remember as well, right, that Nesabe had the counter pick, right, for the Poppy in this matchup. So want to make sure that the top laner is doing well here with those draft resources.
And it looks like he is, you know. And all lanes are kind of going even, but I think the real pressure is going to be on this bottom side. Hopefully, Camille can just survive in the lane, and that's what you want to see. You don't ever expect Camille to be able to kill Poppy in this lane. You just pray that your top laner doesn't actually end up feeding a Poppy, which can happen.
Would you have actually preferred Single Tracks to opt out of the Ignite then? Or do you still think the Ignite is a pretty defendable choice here?
I think it's arguable that somebody needed to go it. Leona already has it, right? So maybe you don't need 2 of them in a team fight, but denying healing on J4, denying healing on Gwen, I think it's more impactful in the team fights than it is for the actual lane. And Camille isn't a champion that needs the flash per se. I mean, flash E is a thing that can happen, but I do kind of agree with the Ignite just for the team fights. Janna does a lot of healing, you know. I think it's less about lane and more about just the 5v5.
We do have a little bit of a potentially sticky situation for the Camille in this top lane, as that wave is very substantial. It's going to be pushing away from Single Tracks, and as we can see, Potato waiting patiently in the river for the Camille to be pushed up a little bit farther. And Nesabe wants to get this charge into the wall, can't quite find it though. EQ will land for the knock-up, but the hook shot is there. The steadfast presence, I think, a little bit too early coming out from Nesabe does give Camille the window to get away. Fenrir going down pretty low in this bot lane. The 4th shot will connect from Comics.
Yeah, but I think the really important thing that you mentioned is that Nesabe did drop the steadfast presence a little bit early. I think if Poppy is playing in this lane, usually if you're comfortable on Poppy, you think about this a little bit more. Obviously, I'm not, so I don't think about this in lane. I'm not going to say that I do.
Oh,
but
nice.
You can
I was
always
very
drop
close.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just saying you can always drop the W defensively and reactively to the Camille E. The hook shot gets stopped immediately as soon as the W is dropped, and it's instant, right? So.
Going into Q2, the damage, the flash for the auto attack, and that's going to be the solo kill. Nesabe with the R5 pick makes it happen.
Well played from Nesabe, earning a little bit of clout back to his name after I was flaming him, but really well played to be able to get that kill. Obviously, maybe Camille should have gone flash. You know, she's out of that one if she has flash.
Hey, the Ignite certainly wasn't going to provide much assistance there. He's still holding on to it. Hasn't actually even used the Ignite yet, I don't believe.
Nope, hasn't been pressed. And you know what has? Poppy's flash. That's all I'm saying.
Sure has, yeah. We'll see. We'll be continuing to track that. You know, the Camille's down a couple of waves now as well. Is going to have some minions coming into the turret here that she can collect. Poppy is still working on getting this wave crashed. Nesabe would really like to get this shoved all the way in before going for the reset, ideally, but level 6 just ticked over for single tracks. Nocturne, absolutely right, Drake. Also on the top side of the map here, Nesabe probably going to be in trouble as the dragon will go over, but this means there's no help coming for the Poppy. Keeper's verdict, he's going for the kill. He wants to find it in the 1v2 and almost does. The minions, oh my god! Oh, single track's not able to get into the bush. The minion autos finish him off. And Nesabe in the 1v2. It's a huge play for the Eye of the Void.
Aminaj is walking away from lane, walking away from that wave, saying, "Not my top laner." You know, this is nightmare in the top side. After what was such a good play, right? You played around your jungler. You obviously lost something for it in the bottom side because Nocturne wasn't around. You did end up just losing the dragon, but it's supposed to pay off in dividends by giving the Camille a little bit of a lead, or at least making things even again in that top side. But it's once again just Nesabe coming out on top, Eye of the Void coming out on top in both the top lane as well as the bottom lane. I mean, this is kind of a story that we've seen already. Poppy?
Oh, beautiful steadfast presence there to deny the hook shot. Single tracks getting chunked low already here. Still down a couple of waves.
But it's the same story we saw in Game 1, and we're seeing it again here in Game 2. Not massive is this lead, right? Only 300 gold. And obviously that just shrunk to 100, but it is a lot of pressure that they're exerting. They have a dragon up. Poppy is just allowed to do this to a Camille.
Yeah.
Like,
Just
what am I watching?
bullying. Paranoia will come out. Keeper or steadfast presence in response, but the fear tether will get the CC. Nesabe though, pretty tanky. Oh my god, what is that damage from the Poppy? The Sheen proc on the auto just zeroes out the Nocturne, and Nesabe wants to charge into the wall, but won't be able to. It's just gonna be the buckler is all that's needed to take down the Camille. Double kill now over to the top laner for Eyes of the Void. They get the Herald off the back end of that play as well. Things are coming up all EOV here in Game 2, Drake.
Yeah, things are starting to turn on their head a little bit. I was talking about how the game's not that in their favor, but it is. You know, it was in their favor just pressure-wise, but now it's definitely starting to materialize into a gold lead, into a very substantial item lead as well as level lead in this top side. And we haven't even been able to focus on mid lane, haven't even been able to focus on bot lane, but there is a CS lead developing for the Gwen, which is not what you would imagine in a range versus melee matchup. But like I mentioned, it's actually a pretty decent lane for this Gwen. Victor getting zoned off of CS right now. Like, it is just a nightmare, the game state that they have found themselves in. But low expectations might be able to work their way out if they're able to facilitate this jinx. We'll have to see as it gets towards the middle stages of this game.
We do have that silver lining for the side of low expectations. The fact that all 4 kills for Eyes of the Void early on here are all on the Poppy. So it's not one of the carries getting ahead, but that might change as I'm with you. Ghosting forward is going to get stunned up by the Gravity Well as well as the Shield of Daybreak from the Leona. The Zoom Mega Death Rocket connecting means that kill will go over. Leona getting the last hit is a little bit unlucky. Single tracks trying to fight versus the Poppy in this top lane. Not going to land the sweep, though. Nesabe picking up that buckler. Is going to go for the Keeper's Verdict for the knock-up. The Steadfast Presence denies the hook shot, and it just looks too easy for the Poppy up here as Nesabe gets number 5.
Turns out with Flash not being available for Camille, you can't move. You literally just can't move. Like, how do you move?
Wasn't an option.
Like, it's actually crazy. This matchup is insane. Like you said, a little bit unfortunate that Leona picked up the only kill that low expectations has been able to find themselves besides that kill on their Camille. You would have really hoped that that goes towards the Victor or the Jinx. But either way, you know, they got something back. We'll have to see if this Poppy is too much of a problem, though. It's seeming quite untamable at the moment.
Well, low expectations once again have some pretty strong scaling on their side, right? If they manage to avoid falling any further behind, then Jinx and Victor, you know, once they get to those 2-3 items, they're always going to be threats. You know, they are a little bit late on front line, but, you know, their composition can always find angles, right? You can always catch out people out of position, right? You can find those dive angles, you know, at any stage of the game. So they're surely going to have some windows here where they can try and come back, but it's definitely feeling like Eye of the Void have the read so far in this game. Once again, we see Potato very patiently waiting for a gank angle, this time in the bottom lane. He knows the top lane doesn't need his help anymore, as Poppy's just laying the beat down on this Camille.
Yeah, a lot of posturing in this bottom side. Really high levels of respect coming out from Fenrir and Xeno.
It's looking like another solo kill in the top lane. I think Camille is dead again here. But the dragon is getting taken on the bottom side of the map. Curtain will be called, though. In comes the Nocturne. Will get directly onto the Jhin. The Fear Tether will come through. Amunaj looking to kill down the enemy marksman. The Cataclysm for the Peel. It's a trade of junglers, as both junglers will go down. The Jhin dodges away, flashes away from the Zap, able to stay alive. But I don't think Gingerin is getting out of this one. That is going to be the first kill for Jinx in this game, as Fenrir picks that one up. They were not able to secure themselves the dragon, and their jungler did go down. So we might be about to see round number 2 in this bot side river, Drake.
For low expectations' sake, you have to hope not, but it does look like I'm With You is trying to be with the enemy ADC.
Yeah, that is going to be the angle for Gwen. Needlework already coming out, but Leona here for the Peel, and I'm With You. I don't think is going to be able to close this distance. Ghost not available at the moment. Is going to try and take down this Leona. So much damage from the needles, but that was the last charge of the Needlework. And Xeno is going to be able to make it back underneath the turret. But with low health bars in the bot lane not having the chance to reset, this means that the objective is going to go over to EOV.
Yeah, I mean, insane from I'm With You to be able to secure this neutral objective for his team, right? Because he pushed Xenodakiel into base, he pushed Fenrir into base, and that means that the bot lane has so much pressure at the moment. J4 and Janna just able to pick up the dragon on their own. Rift Herald might as well get a couple plates on the bot side to boot. And the lead is just ballooning upon ballooning as we watch the effect of mid lane and top lane moving towards this bottom side. I'm actually terrified for low expectations of when this Poppy finally leaves this lane.
Yeah, this Poppy is going to be very unkillable. So that is something to look forward to if you are an Eyes of the Void fan. Over there in chat is Nesabe is your guy this game, absolutely bodying the top lane matchup. And, you know, getting that charge of the Herald into the tier 1 in the bot lane feels fantastic as well. The EOV, doesn't really feel like they've been challenged at all yet in game 2 here. They're just continuing to find everything that they are looking for.
Yeah, although a couple of kills did end up going the way of low expectations, but losing neutral objectives after getting kills and winning team fights like that is just... It's the epitome of feels bad, man. Like, you did something good, you actually made a wave in the game, and you still can't contest neutral objectives. It is just a really rough position to be in, and I'm not sure how you get out of it. It is a case of you have to wait, you have to find another mistake, you have to find multiple team fights like that, and then eventually maybe you scale enough that you can start taking those neutral objectives uncontested.
Yeah, I mean, you said it yourself earlier on. It's not really a question of gold differential yet, anyway. It's just a matter of pressure. It's just Eyes of the Void playing the map better, right? Understanding, you know, what they are allowed to do at any given time and playing around one another, you know, in a stronger fashion than their opponents in this match tonight.
And you'd hope to see a little bit more pressure even coming out from Amunaj on this Nocturne. I feel like he's had ult up a lot of the time during this game since he hit level 6. And he's only looked for a couple of picks here and there, usually around neutral objectives, but I think J4 has had so much influence on the map. He's looked for these neutral objectives, looked for Rift Herald, played around the lanes that have pressure. You see him already hopping onto another Rift Herald, and Amunaj just strolling around enemy jungle. Like, what is happening, man?
Yeah, I mean, the Nocturne's not even really having much of a CS lead over the Jarvan. You know, Nocturne should be able to clear much faster, but maybe that's a product of the patch, right? As the Nocturne, as the farming jungler, has just less of an advantage in that department than he did previously. Oh, the Rift Herald actually getting sniped away there. So that neutral will not go over to the Eyes of the Void. They looked like they were going to be able to get their fourth consecutive neutral stacked up, but that will not be the case. And now the Paranoia underneath the tier 1 in the bot lane, the Victor damage more than enough to get that kill. So a nicely executed dive, and that is Amunaj getting some value from the Paranoia that we were looking for.
Yeah, a crazy Jinx steal into an actually effective gank in the bottom side. Victor actually gets the turret as well. Really well played from low expectations. They might be able to find another.
Q2, and that's going to be the shutdown. Single Tracks getting himself back into the game, getting that kill onto the Gwen. You know, now that the Camille doesn't have to lane against Poppy anymore, she is unleashed.
Just like that, we were talking about how low expectations needed to find their way back into this game. They needed to find a couple of kills and consecutively win these team fights before they can pressure anything. And they looks to me like they finally found them. They got 2 kills in side lanes, and that's kind of due to the fact that Nesabe has moved into this mid lane. I mean, the Poppy effectively defends the mid turret perfectly, but you lose players on either side of the map. Yeah, and as you see it, as I'm saying it, Nesabe moving towards that bottom side. We'll have to see if she's as effective in the side lane or if she's just going to kind of be this unmovable object that you just avoid the entire game.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So we do see that low expectations have themselves the gold lead now. It's not too significant just yet, a little bit under 1,000. But still, you know, I think we also have to say that they decisively have the stronger scaling draft this time around, right? As opposed to what we saw in game number 1. Our damage concerns, you know, Nesabe going for the full tank Poppy builds, those damage concerns could absolutely become a reality if the side of EOV fall any further behind. You see, I'm With You is not winning out in this lane against the Camille whatsoever. Single Tracks is feeling much more comfortable after, you know, the rotations that have come through.
Yeah, and it is the reality of Divine Sunder finally being completed for her. Camille feels like she's low-key not a champion until she's getting massive healing from that Divine Sunder. Victor, is he in danger?
No, he should be able to get underneath the turret there. So no dashes that can be stopped by the Steadfast Presence, so Nesabe doesn't really have a great way of locking down that Victor.
Did poke him off the wave a little bit, make some reset, but Single Track's looking for stuff in this top side. Nocturne in the mid lane.
Yeah, Jhin could be the target once again here. The Jhin ultimate will come out to disengage. EQ now will land. Nocturne in trouble. Amunaj flashing away, but the Cataclysm comes out. Nocturne nowhere to go. It is going to be Xeno in with the Zenith Blade. It's going to be Jarvan going down pretty low with the High Ultimatum as well. Camille into the back line, able to get that first kill onto the J4. Fenriri completely untouched so far in the back line. Jinx trying to get excited, trying to find these resets, but the curtain will be called. As Camille has been... Oh, the Camille is still alive on the retreat. Fenriri is moving forward. While the rest of the team is going back. It will be a very tense fight in the mid lane. 2v2, or 2-4-2 as the dust settles.
And it looked like more was happening. I mean, only a 2-for-2? You're kidding me. Like, health bars were dropping. There was a lot of stuff going on. There were summoners flying all about, ultimates left and right. But Victor just didn't press R, it looks like. I don't know. Yeah, like, tons of TPs, but and at the end of the day, only a 2-for-2. No neutral objective even being started by either side. And, you know, we're going back for round 2, I guess.
Yeah, really close game that we have on our hands now. These teams are really going at it. I think this next team fight is going to be quite the spectacle, Drake, if I had to guess. As our third dragon is alive.
It's weird, right? Because it's Cloud Dragon, so you wouldn't imagine that it is going to be that impactful. But as you see this fight, both teams really want to be able to get onto that Cloud Dragon. And J4 manages to get the Cataclysm, Nocturne dies, but on the opposite side of the fight, J4 dies because of a perfectly placed Jinx Rocket. And a lot of peeling for this Jinx means that she's able to be kept alive quite a while. They do end up getting one more kill secured.
All right. And live, EOV have started up the objective. Will be Cloud Soul point for them. We have Victor on the flank on the south side here. Dragon going down pretty low. Paranoia coming out. It is going to be the smite is good from the Potato. Gets them onto that soul point, but the team fight is looking very much in favor of the side.
Fenriri.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be the Jinx getting excited. She is going to be able to find that shutdown onto the Jhin, but Jhin able to escape underneath of the tier 2. Deadly Flourish gets the lockdown on Fenrir. Steadfast Presence prevents the commit from going forward, but the lockdown from the Victor is there. Now Jinx underneath the turret she goes. The 4th shot is not enough. The movement speed gets her out from underneath the turret range, and it's going to be the side of low expectations with a huge teamfight win.
Okay, so Jinx is broken. We just didn't see Fenrir play it last game. That's what I'm hearing. You know?
Yeah, that's the way it's looking as well. We got another replay here, Drake.
Yeah, and you were commentating while we were watching it, but as we watched the replay, Gwen getting absolutely deleted, and it flashes everywhere from the side of the Void, and Fenrir just absolutely monstrous taking over this fight. There's nothing else to say. Leona gets the CC, Jinx gets a kill, she gets excited again, and she somehow is quick enough to outrun turret. I don't understand. This champion's insane.
Yeah. I mean, clearly the call for Eyes of the Void in that last engagement was to focus down the dragon, right? That was the target. They didn't really have the best control over the area. They were getting flanked while they were trying to take down the dragon. They were able to secure it, luckily, but it ended up costing them pretty big. I don't know if it was worthwhile in the end, as I'm with you. Could be in some trouble here, as Paranoia is going to come down as well. Aztec Ultimatum just to make absolutely sure there's nowhere the Gwen can go. And that's single tracks. The Camille, who was so far down, who got solo killed like 3 times early on, is now on a killing spree.
Yeah, and it was honestly kind of a scary situation. I think single tracks might have died if that was straight up 1v1.
Oh, EQ not going to land for the potato. Does have Cataclysm. Is going to use that to try and lock down. Single track, the hook shot must have been on cooldown. Camille had no way out of that pit. So that will be a good pick, a much needed pick, honestly, for Eye of the Void. Now, Comics has to be a little bit careful. Rotation coming up from the Leona will, I think, pay respect.
I actually think it was really well played by Not Some Potato there. There was a hookshot actually available for single tracks, but it got canceled because J4 stood in front of it before it could get her over the Cataclysm. So she was still trapped inside, and the CC obviously hit him, but he's tanky, so it didn't matter. And secured a kill for his team. A lot of pressure actually going the way of Eyes of the Void, despite what looked like the game was kind of falling out of their hands.
Yeah. Potatoes had some really creative angles for ganks in this second game here. And honestly, that is going to be very necessary. Given this composition, they are quickly running out of time now where they're able to front to back these team fights. It's just not really going to be a winning recipe for them, you know, looking forward in the rest of this game. So they need to find odd-numbered fights, right? They need to find these priority targets and burst them down before the real team fight kicks off, or there's no way they're going to be able to out DPS Jinx Victor.
Yeah, and I think it's also down to key cooldowns. When ultimates are down. Oh, Kaminosh. Okay, just he's allowed to do that, I guess. But
I guess so.
I was just going to say that cooldowns are also a big factor in these fights. If you can force stuff like Baron or like Dragons, while, for example, right now Fenrir doesn't have Flash available, then you can look for Jinx Cataclysm. J4 Cataclysm with Gwen follow-up and just absolutely delete the carries of the side of low expectations. And I think that those are going to be what Eyes of the Void should be keeping their eyes out for in these next few fights. Where can we punish some of the cooldowns? Where can we, like you said, look to punish some of the...
Paranoia once again. This play again onto the Gwen. I'm with you. Having a pretty rough go of it, we gotta say. Just not paying any respect to the Nocturne. Gonna get picked off in the side lane once again here. That was the Nocturne ultimate, though, committed in the bot lane with Baron alive. So being considered right now by Eyes of the Void, but they can't take it quickly enough. They're gonna have to back off. They're gonna look for Victor, actually, in this top lane. They could probably just take down the turret and then look for the kill. That is going to be the angle. Block, trying to dodge away from these Jhin shots, flashes away from the curtain call, and Victor just with the dance moves put on the fancy feet there and gets away from the play. Solar Flare will connect onto the Jhin. Steadfast Presence is beautiful from Nusabe to try and go for the disengage. Potato gonna go back in. Probably thought he had no way out. Will sacrifice himself to get the rest of the team out to safety, but no jungler now for the side of Eye of the Void, and that's gonna be the go signal for low expectations to go straight onto this Baron.
Yeah, it's kind of been back and forth. As we're talking about back and forth, it looks like Eyes of the Void is not going to give it over for free.
They're absolutely not. Gwen coming up on the flank from mid lane. Fenriri and Victor are the two champions we need to look out for here. Paranoia will come out. We are trying to dive onto the Jhin. Aminash flashing forward, gets that last auto attack down, does take down Comics. Gets charged into the wall now, though, but there's just not enough damage. There's no damage left for the side of Eyes of the Void, and Warlock's going to be able to snipe down the support as well with a well-placed laser. They did not manage to get the Baron, but some more kills going into their pockets, and they are going to have to contend with the Cloud Soul here, but overall, it seems like it's getting more and more in favor of Low Expectations the second game. I'm with you. Dashes over the wall, looking for a kill onto Xeno. But the Leona's too tanky. You can't expect to just burst her down. And now Potato's been baited in. Goes in for the EQ. At least they do eventually manage to take down the support. But what did it cost, Eyes of the Void? What did it cost?
I think it cost them everything. I'm gonna be honest. That's
exactly where I was going.
This is dreadful. The Cloud Dragon is going to go over to the side of Low Expectations, and I assume they can just move directly towards that Baron. Two members of Eyes of the Void still down on cooldown until they're going to respawn. It just keeps going from bad to worse for Eyes of the Void. They played so confidently because of what happened in the last game. They saw Nasabi get ahead in this game as well. Thought it would be the same story, but it's far from it. Low Expectations absolutely coming online in this game too.
Yeah, they are in a really dominant position now. They should be able to secure this, no problem. There's no way that Jarvan can go over here to the Baron Pit in time. Jin's going to go for a Miracle Steal with the Forest Shot, but the Smite is good. Ooh, that was actually a little bit hairy with the Keeper's Verdict coming out. Did connect onto Amunaj, but it was just a moment too late. The Nocturne was able to get off the Smite. And now Low Expectations find themselves with about a 5.5k gold lead. And they should be in full control now of this game.
And they're only going to make that gold lead bigger. They, as you see on your screens, have the Baron power play in their pockets. And they're going to be exponentially growing that gold lead as much as possible for the next 3 minutes. Pushing lanes. Like, you can't keep up with Baron at this stage of the game. It's only 27 minutes. You can already see Gwen actually managing to get a turret somehow. But I would assume that she's going to get punished very shortly. Victor's here. You can see Nocturne moving towards that area as well. And the pushing power is just insane from Baron at this stage.
Absolutely.
Single tracks.
Trade of those tier 1s as the Camille is able to take it down on the opposite side of the map. And it looks like it's going to be just a little bit of a funky formation that we've got right now, Drake. It's 1-2-2 at the moment, but Nocturne and Victor both moving over towards this mid lane. So 4-1 may be the call.
Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure. You can see the Camille in this top side, and like you said, all 4 members moving towards the mid lane. Nocturne, maybe in a little bit of a pickle, might try and force something in the mid lane. Nope, they're just going to be comfortable. They're going to play it safe and just keep pressure up as they push down these turrets, slowly siege, and just honestly let the Baron minions do their job.
Station up front with you, trying to pick off the Camille in the side lane here, but Single Track's level 16. This is going to be very difficult to take down. The Heroic Charge does not get the CC, and now Nasabi going to get taken down, potentially not quite, as the Ignite was not enough to secure the kill. Single Tracks will get taken down, but the tier 2 in mid falls in response as the siege continues for Low Expectations. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to get too much more, just trading their Camille for the tier 2.
And honestly, a little bit sad that Fenrir is focusing so much of his attention towards that mid lane. If he just tossed the Super Mega Death Rocket towards the top lane, probably would have assisted enough to get the kill. Maybe get excited, push some more pressure towards that middle lane. But, you know, a tier 2 is good. And honestly, it seems like this team has a little bit of struggle sieging into the enemy team at the moment without Baron. So, honestly, if they're not able to get enough pressure with this Baron, they have to wait another 3 minutes. And it could look a little bit dicey. I mean, we were talking about how they have more scaling on the side of Low Expectations. But Eye of the Void has a lot of playmaking. They have a lot of pick potential. And they can make things happen if they're given the right opportunity.
Yeah, theoretically. But, you know, those things happening, or the ability to make them happen, I do think is getting a little bit more difficult as we progress further into this game. You know, both Gwen and Jhin, the 2 main damage tiers that this composition relies on, right, are both pretty significantly behind. And it's going to need to be a pretty ideal situation for Eyes of the Void to actually find some sort of punish.
100%. But a surprising build coming out from the side of Eyes of the Void, I didn't expect to see this, but we do have a Lethality Jarvan on our screens. He plans to one-shot Jinx. He plans to one-shot the Victor and get away with it. I mean, usually you see Gore Drinker, usually you see something a little bit more tanky on J4, but he's opting for the full damage build, and like we were talking about, looking to get those picks to somehow randomly pick off a really key member of the side of Low Expectations. And as they move towards this top side, maybe even look for more picks. But the Cloud Dragon is spawning soon. I feel like they have to fight for the soul, no?
Well, they're the ones on Soul Point, right? So they're actually totally okay giving over, another singular Cloud Dragon to their opponents, and that does seem to be the call here. Is they know that Low Expectations have to play for the Dragon, right? Because you can't give over Soul. So anticipating that, Eyes of the Void are already set up for the cross map. They're gonna look to probably dive single tracks underneath this tier 2, and they're all 5 here to try and make it happen. In goes Potato to try and start things off. Nasabe on the side as well is going to deny the hook shot, and it looks like the cross map play is going to be very, very successful for the Eyes of the Void as the Dragon will go over. How much can they get in the top lane?
Yeah, that's really what's important here, isn't it? Because Camille knew that this was happening. She pinged the jungle, she pinged missing ping in that topside jungle. But she made the mistake of dying for it, and will they be able to punish any further? No, it's only going to be the inhibitor turret. But that's an exposed base. That's a win potential if a team fight goes their way, and it's definitely something a little bit scary for Low Expectations.
Eyes of the Void with the Fnatic brush maneuver. They are going to go in with the EQ, then jump out of the bush looking for their victim, but it's only the Leona that's getting jumped on. They don't have the damage to burn through the health bars, and Victor has already racked up a double kill. It's the carries that are... Oh, the Victor actually did get taken down. Amunash continuing to press forward, though. Does get the Fear Tether onto the Janna. Should be enough damage. Double kill goes over, and now a very excited Fenriri should be able to run down the last remaining member as the Jinx stacks up the triple, and it's going to be the 5-for-2 team fight. Low Expectations defend their own jungle.
Really well played by Low Expectations. I mean, I thought it was going to go terribly, right? Leona was the target, however, and that's a tanky girl. You can't one-shot that champion, and it turns out Victor, Jinx, and Nocturne can one-shot your team. So 5 full kills going the way of Low Expectations on top of their already pretty dominant stance in the game. We're going to watch this replay to see how exactly that damage actually got distributed. But like you said, the Fnatic brush was the plan. It didn't work, Stan. Leona is taking less damage than your entire team. Jinx Rocket, you get 2 kills immediately. Low Expectations picks up a 3rd. Jinx is absolutely turbo excited. The pathing was a little weird because of J4 Cataclysm, but she comes back into the fight and is able to pick up 1 more kill.
Oh my goodness, it's live. We got a whole bunch of action happening. It is going to be
Wynn
that gets focused on it in the exact same place. Yes, that we just watched that replay as Nasabe flashing over the wall is going to get locked up by the Zenith Blade, and Warlock now on the chase. Poppy is running out of mobility. Tools is going to lock down once again here, and the Victor damage is just too much. Warlock picks up number 10. 10, 2, and 8 now for the Victor, and they're looking for their second Baron.
Yeah, 10, 2, and 8 on the Victor, 7, 0, and 9 on the Jinx. You can't kill the carries of Low Expectations, and I think that that's kind of been the story of this game. Eyes of the Void, if they can't kill the carries, then they're going to struggle, especially considering that J4 built to kill the carries. Gwen is there only to be able to threaten the carries, but she's 2 and 9. The game has just gone from bad to worse at every turn, despite a couple of opportunities for Eyes of the Void. It looks like they honestly just got outdrafted this game.
It does kind of feel that way, especially in hindsight, right? With the way everything that played out as the siege commences onto the Nexus turrets. Gwen and Jin doing everything they can to clear out these waves. It is a little bit difficult for Jin in particular, right, to take down these super minions, but they are able to manage for now. Only playing on 1 lane is Low Expectations. Would like to see them maybe put on a little bit of additional pressure here.
Yeah, you see the Camille moving down towards that bottom side. Nocturne has the ultimate, obviously, to back her up if he needs to. Going to be clearing jungle camps while he's at it. You know, just nomming up some little jungle monsters, getting a little bit more gold in his pockets. I'm not sure he'll have a chance to back. It does look like there is a lot of pressure coming out from his team. Baron is up still.
Yeah.
Nasabe?
Single Track's going to finish off that turret. Poppy's not quite able to get the stun. Single Tracks is going to go in with the Ice Ultimatum. Nocturne into the back line. Has managed to push away one of the carries, but it is going to be Naysabi potentially focused down at the front here. And Janna's already been taken down as well. And Riri, though, is going to get snipped apart by the Gwen. Warlock, though, still alive. The Victor should be able to carry through the team fight. Naysabi is going to get taken down.
Goodness.
Potato is all out of tools. He's going to get dug up and cooked up. There he goes. It does manage to trade one back with the Cataclysm before going down. Pretty messy fight, honestly, in the end, but it's going to be Low Expectations who are a little bit too far ahead, and now 2v1 with Baron on still. Only Jhin here to defend with no ult, no flash. Gonna be really hard for this Jhin to take down these super minion waves all by himself, and the Victor damage is crazy. In goes the Nocturne to pick up that last kill, and that is going to do it. 35.5 minutes, took a little bit longer than game number 1, but Low Expectations will be able to find their first Nexus of Season 7.
Yeah, they blew our expectations of game 2 out of the water. Really well played by them. And when we're looking in hindsight at that game, it was a pretty dominant game as well. So really flipping the script on its head between these two games. The first game, obviously, a very dominant victory by Eyes of the Void. Second game, Low Expectations, absolutely running the map the entire game. Obviously, Poppy did have a little bit of a fun time in that top side, but besides the early game, she really didn't have that much of an impact. So Low Expectations playing really, really well and controlling the game, despite a little bit of a blunder, I guess, on Camille's part.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you could look at it from the perspective where Low Expectations deserve additional credit, right, for facing that early deficit and, you know, their top laner being nearly taken out of the game entirely, but still managing to find the avenues to come back, right? And, you know, we can say that maybe that was due to Eyes of the Void with a couple of missteps. You know, maybe it was because of the draft. Maybe they were a little bit too over-aggressive. You know, the target selection, not ideal down the stretch there in the mid and late game. They weren't really able to find those priority targets at the start of the fights like they needed to. But ultimately, you know, it's Low Expectations that were able to play things out well enough to actually capitalize on any mistakes that did come through.
Yeah, and it's so weird to be in this position. This is why best of 2 formats are so strange to me. But like, now we're left in a position where you don't actually know which team is like better. You know, like obviously Low Expectations did win the second game, so maybe you could claim, oh well, since they had time to, they should have been down in the dumps after the first game. They're the better team for playing well in the second game and winning anyways. But you could also argue that, obviously, Eyes of the Void playing really well in the early game of game 2, winning the first game. They're the better team overall, but either way, it does end up just being a tie, and there's no real winner here. But both teams definitely displaying tonight that they have what it takes to beat one another. When we're talking about MVPs, when we're talking about who's the MVP of this game, I would definitely look towards the Jinx. I would look towards Fenriri. I mean, it's hard to say this for me because Jinx is just so broken at the moment that it's hard to promote that this player played so well, but he really did absolutely pop off in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it can be a little bit of a meme, right? Just voting for the boom boom damage, you know, big number good. But, you know, ultimately, the Jinx was set up well, but Fenriri, the positioning was pretty immaculate, right? I think the only death of the entire game for the Jinx was right at the end there when they were going for that final siege into the enemy base. I think Fenriri did end up getting taken down by the Gwen right at the end there, but for the most part, I mean, the Jinx was able to stay so safe in all of these fights, get out such consistent damage, and was just impossible to deal with in the end for Eyes of the Void. So I think it's a pretty worthwhile vote this time around, Drake. But yeah, I mean, we do also have the MVP vote in the Discord channel, guys, so we would love to hear from you as well. Everybody, please head over there, cast your votes, let us know. Are we going to be doing an interview as well tonight? No interview. Okay.
No interview. No interview.
Maybe next time, you know, or we'll save that for the playoffs, perhaps. So more on that later. But it seems like that's going to pretty much do it for us tonight, Drake. Do you have any final thoughts on this evening's 2-game set before we close things out?
I think it was a really strong way to start the season. I think both teams showed a lot of development throughout that series and throughout those 2 games. I was really surprised, honestly, to see such a good performance from Eyes of the Void, especially for their first game in in CWL, right? So really cohesive team already in game 1. Like that's really impressive to see. Obviously falling apart there in game 2, it might have been a draft issue, it might have been a little bit of a communication issue. You'd expect these things with a new team, but either way, like if they can bounce back, we could expect to see both of these teams being very strong in the season, I think.
Absolutely. You know, just it's only week 1, but it's already looking like a very, very interesting season here in the CWL, particularly Division 2. You know, with our defending champions being pushed this far in their first match of the season. Does bode well for the competition going forward. So lots to look forward to, guys. But that's going to do it for our week 1 coverage. Thank you, everybody, very much for watching. From myself, from Drake here, from Logic, from the entire production team here at the Cobalt Wins League. Thank you, everybody, very, very much. We will see you again next weekend for week 2 as our 7th season continues. Have a great night.